And on reflection, if the companies could have voted in the United Kingdom, they would not have voted for Brexit.
Dr. Michael Hopkins, it's an absolute pleasure to have you back in our studio. It's been a few months since we last spoke about Trump and Brexit, and today we're going to look a lot on CSR and a charter that you've written, a charter on social responsibility for companies in the new era. It's fascinating stuff, so we're just going to unpack that a little bit and you can go through what it is. But I just want to take something here from the top. You said, we're in a crisis in the world right now, a war on Islam from USA led by a president unfit to serve, the UK blindly going along with Brexit. With these kind of huge scenarios going on in the world at the moment, how are we going to be able to get companies on board with this charter on social responsibility for companies? How do we get them on board, and how do we get them involved in really wanting to, make an impact?
Historically, companies have always kind of kept away from the big issues of the day. And it always worried me that is, a company, an oil company, for example, is highly dependent on what happens to the oil price. And so if there's a huge glut leading to another issue, it's going to affect their bottom line. When you've got a president of the United States who is, as Obama and Hillary Clinton have both said, is unfit to serve. They said that before November the 8th last year, and subsequent events, and with apologies for those of you who like this guy, I think he's shown that he is totally unfit to serve. And that is bad for business. For instance, the anti-immigration stance in a country which is the home of immigrants. I mean, it's built on immigration. And companies got together, especially the tech companies in California, about 100 of them got together and are opposing the immigration bill because they're saying, this is where our bright workers have come from. This is where the CEO of Apple and Microsoft and so on, that they come from and give us the inspiration. So in fact, companies are starting to get hurt by some of these big events in the world. The other one that you mentioned, if I may, is the question of Brexit.
Yeah.
In a way, it's going to be totally disastrous, as I've said and explained, and we've discussed in other interviews. It's going to be totally disastrous for Britain itself. It's not going to be particularly good for the EU, because Britain had a kind of a moderating influence, and also it's always been the home of democracy and human rights going back hundreds of years. So Britain leaving is actually also a loss to the EU. But certainly the companies in Britain, I mean, they can't actually believe what's going on. The car companies are already relocating to Germany. The financial services in London are looking around. Some of them are already moving parts of their operations to Dublin and to Frankfurt and to Paris. And this is costly for them. And on reflection, if the companies could have voted in the United Kingdom, they would not have voted for Brexit. And would the companies in the United States have voted for Trump? Probably not either. So saying, business is business, and business will always find a way to operate. And so there's going to be some winners and some losers out of what's been going on. In Britain, for example, I imagine that agriculture is going to boom.
So with this charter in particular, you've got a few bullet points here. Can you talk us through the main points of what you'd expect from companies?
Since it's quite clear that major problems and major issues affect companies, it's that they actually describe the big issues that affect them and maybe what they're going to do about it. You see big companies like Unilever, for example, who devise products for the poorest of the poor, the bottom of the pyramid, for instance. So these are the sorts of things they can put in their charter. And usually they don't discuss those sorts of things. They tend to keep a very low profile on the big issues of the day. But these are affected. They're affected by these big issues. So the idea of the charter, for me, is that every company, in fact, both public and private, at the end of the year, actually has a reflection on what are the big issues in the world, in society, and how is it going to affect their company, and what, if anything, they can do about it. And the idea is not to have just another axe to grind, but is actually to contribute to actually resolving some of the society problems, and for companies also to start reflecting on how they can actually contribute to resolving society problems too. And let me just finish on that, is that one of my best friends was head of one of the biggest companies in Europe, actually Hayes PLC. Try and look him up if you can find him. A lovely guy, but he said to me, he said, Michael, you know, all your nice CSR and things, and yeah, we like it, and I think to leave a legacy of my company to actually observing so many things, trying to do something about global warming, because we're a trucking company and a distribution company. He said, that's fine. But the problem is that when most CEOs are appointed, they have on average 4 years. The first year, trying to find out what their job really is. Then they've got 2 years of actually trying to do something about the issue that they're involved in. And quite often the 4th year is negotiating their golden parachute, because they know they're not going to be around much longer. And on average, it's about that, 4 years that they have. So he said they quite often don't have time to get into these issues. Yeah. But I put it to my friend about the charter, and yeah, he said, yes, I wish I'd done that before I left.
So just something finally to finish up. We've mentioned sort of Brexit and Trump. With these kind of issues coming up that maybe you could categorize into bringing people further apart and maybe making people less socially responsible, how can you kind of ensure that that companies are going to get on board with this and that it will benefit them as well?
Whenever we talk about corporate social responsibility and sustainability, which I talk about a lot in this particular book, Excuse the Publicity, we always emphasize a business case.
Yeah.
We want to drive companies into the grave. That's absolutely ridiculous. But we want to see how companies are interacting with their main stakeholders, both internally and externally. I think actually over the last 20 years that I've been involved in CSR, we've done quite well. In fact, most big companies, almost without exception these days, have got a CSR sustainability policy of some form or another. And when I talk about CSR sustainability to companies, they kind of understand what it all means, and then they know where they are on that. Whereas 10 years ago or 15 years ago when I talk to people about it, they look at me and say, "Hey, what's all that? Are you a communist or something?" But today they get it. So we've done quite well, but we have missed the rise of things like Trump, or what's going on in Poland right now, or what's going on in Hungary and so on. They have kind of missed that. So in 20 years, even though we've been successful on CSR sustainability, the big issues of the day are kind of still there, and they're going to harm companies over time. So in fact, they're going to seriously negatively affect companies' bottom line. Not all of them, and also they're going to be pretty bad for countries as well. So what I would like in this charter is for every company to actually look at the big issues, whatever they are, whether it's human rights, whether it's a new political framework, or whether it's a new criminal law, or whatever, and actually say, well, how do you think our company could actually look at it, which would also be good for our company and also good for our stakeholders and also for the communities in which we work.
Michael, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks, Jack. Great.
And thank you for watching. And if you'd like to see more videos with Michael and join in on the debate, head over to dukascopy.tv.